a daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Rusty's chained to the mines, digging deep day by day. But when Option Omega releases new features, he's free to come out and play option. Omega, you're trading home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Troy. Good morning, everybody. And hope everybody's doing well today. And what day is this, Troy? Oh, Wednesday. Okay.
This is Wednesday. Dan, it won't stop raining here, and it's getting annoying.
I know during the night it was raining, and it's it's like the, Troy, if we can use it any, it's like the market. Matt's good at that. Matt will always try to, he's good at the, you think of the market. I think I was talking to some students yesterday. It's like they're getting tired. It's like, all right, there's grinding up. Like, Friday was up. All right, enough, right? Monday will come back 30. Give us a reprieve for people with short deltas or whatever. No problem. No stinking reprieve yesterday. No stinking reprieve today. So it's like, usually even when the market goes up, you get these reprieves. But I thought yesterday, I don't know what you thought, Troy, like the first hour, I'm like, we're kind of glued to the strike. Wherever the, what was the strike? I'm trying to look where.
6,400.
Yeah, we were kind of glued to that 60, around, we didn't venture too far from that. And then at about 10:45 Eastern, we jumped 20, and then every hour about 7 points, and it's like, ooey. No, I'm just joking. I mean, it was good. It was good for, again, it was a news day, and that's one thing about, good day for like reverse Iron Condor or something, but you had you had catalysts. And I think that's the whole thing. You look at, I'll usually consider reverse Iron Condors more, at least in the past, I'll look at least I want potential catalyst days, right? Not that it can't. Now, Matt did a great job on the video of showing over a good period of time a reverse Iron Condor, and it's amazing he got it to work, because it's a negative theta trade. And to get a negative theta trade to work over the long time is not an easy task. But by leaning long deltas, long delta, long vega, and the market generally goes up, and he did a few tweaks on that with the deltas. And I think he did the like an SMA or something, but you can get it to work. But I think, it's a tough one, because people will, they're catalyst days, but how many times have you seen with news, Troy, CPI, PPI, they do nothing, right? But yesterday it was kind of a muted response, wasn't it? I was, it's like 45 minutes. This is a nothing burger. And then that steady track up mount, whatever mountain you want to go. But the good news is, for volatility, what do you think of as a volatility guy, right? When you start seeing those 14 levels, do you get, do your fingers start tingling a little bit, or what your toes, or what goes on?
Here's the thing. I know that in a 14 vol environment, there's going to be some reactivity.
Yes.
But here's the problem. Eventually.
You said great word.
Because there's the famous quote, the market could stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent, and that to me is that's the truth of it, because, we don't have many data points to say VIX can get to 9, but VIX can get to 9. And, depending on what this looks like. Now, my personal opinion, which means nothing, zilch, is that I think the second half of the year is going to be a little bit more volatile as we get into the fall. I don't really have a reason for that, just other than, and that doesn't mean like going to 80 VIX, but I could see us going back up to 20 for a while.
I think that's reasonable, 20 to 25, and you have the October earnings coming up. I mean, I wouldn't mind, in terms of people who like doing something in VIX, if you're buying a VIX call and you think it's going up, or a VIX vertical spread, to go out to at least October. I think you need a lot of room there. But like you said you said just a minute ago, VIX can stay low a lot, right?
Yeah.
For months and months. So I think you need duration. Whereas if VIX gets to 20 or 25, you look at a VIX chart, it doesn't stay up long at all. That's almost a better play when you buy puts on VIX when it's up, because it does not last.
Listen, Matt, is very careful with me to make sure that I'm not throwing language around. And so, this is not financial advice, but also
here we go.
Matt's not here. So I would say, I mean, again, it's not financial advice. This is just for entertainment purposes, but like, I don't see really what the issue would be with buying like $300,000 to $400,000 worth of 20 strike calls expiring next week in the VIX. Like,
I can't agree with you.
But that's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
I can't even.
That's not trading advice. That's not trading.
Troy, how many seconds do you think before in the chat Matt will respond in the chat?
Yeah, the power will just shut off at my house.
The power will shut off at your house.
Yeah. But, Dan, listen. Here's the thing. We're going to look at the DC that Matt talked about Monday. We have a video out on it.
Yeah.
And we're going to graph it out a little bit. But real quick, I mean, I want to talk about obviously the bigger news, which is that Dan and I are less than 24 hours away from being across the country together. And chat, I would love to know. I've been to San Francisco for about 10 minutes one time. Everybody I've ever talked to, Dan, even people who lived in San Francisco, told me to not come to San Francisco. And when I did come to San Francisco, I know. When I did go to San Francisco and I was like, I'm here, they were like, you should get out of the city as soon as you can. That was their so anyone who's been to Northern California, throughout the show, please put in things that we should do. Now, Dan has already shut me down once because I had this idea of saying, hey, let's get to San Francisco and immediately drive to Big Sur. And Dan said, you are an idiot.
No,
I will. And
I said, I'm old. You're young. Go do it.
Yeah. So we'll see. But we're looking into maybe see a little bit of cliffs. We're looking at seeing some beaches. We are going to Alcatraz, obviously. So chat, fill it in. I mean, where else should?
Troy, I think people that say they don't like San Francisco, they don't understand the power of Alcatraz and the power of. If you asked me all the times that I've been out there, and you said to me, "What do you remember the most?" And now this shows my mentality, but it's 39. They have all these seals that just kind of hang out. That was like peace to me. That was Sellers. I'm from Chicago. What more do you want? And then you go to the place with what's the place you put the soup in the used to put the soup in this bread bowl. They make bread. What's that called, folks? They put the
sourdough, the sourdough.
Yeah, they have a sourdough thing, and then they put the soup in there. There's a whatever the name of the company is, but it's the thing I get scared in San Francisco is, especially being a bit out of shape in my older age at this point, if you're going walking, you think of like walking in Knoxville. Well, no, Knoxville can be pretty up and down, but these are
Knoxville has hills. No, this is the same. Yeah, for sure. I was surprised. I had always heard that, and I'm like, well, Knoxville has hills. San Francisco hills are ridiculous.
Oh my goodness,
it's insane.
I talked to a cab driver one time. I said, how do you, he said he goes through breaks like nothing. I mean, because you're going, Nolan would probably love it. I mean, with the driving, I mean, when you go up and down those, he'll definitely, it'd be like being on a horse.
The chat has entered clam chowder. Rob says you can find soup in a bread bowl at every home restaurant in the USA. Thank you.
He took the glory of that soup from me, and he said, that is a great comment. You can find soup in every bread shelter.
No, that's true. I mean, listen, for me personally, Golden Gate. So every time I go to San Francisco, I do drive past the Golden Gate Bridge, and I do sing the Full House theme to myself, full blast. And I will do that. I will. It doesn't matter who's there. I did go to Sausalito. I'll tell you a little story about Sausalito, Dan. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No.
So Sausalito is I don't know anything about San Francisco again, but it's basically the first exit after the Golden Gate Bridge once you leave San Francisco.
Okay.
I mean, it's 2 minutes from San Francisco. And I went to Sausalito. I had a couple hours before my flight home. I had to pee in San Francisco. I said, Sausalito's
There's a song there. That's a song there, Troy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Sausalito was 10 minutes away. I was well, I'll just park and eat dinner and go pee.
Yeah.
I drove around for 45 minutes in Sausalito trying to find a parking space. And Dan, it is the closest I have ever come to just having to pee in public. Just on the street, just stop the car.
Take take the ticket for vagrancy and
yes.
Hey, officer, I'll pay the money. I had to
gladly.
Pay. Here's the $50. Yeah. Here's the $50, whatever it is.
Now what I didn't want is my wife to get word that Troy had been arrested for indecent exposure, public exposure.
See, the name is worse than the act, because
that's right.
If you're peeing to call it indecent exposure, vagrancy, why can't they call it, hey, somebody whose bladder needed to pee, and why can't they call it that, Troy?
That's like a Seinfeld. That's a perfect Seinfeld joke to say. Listen, if you got to pee in public, I can't think of any type of other decent exposure. That's a very decent exposure.
A decent exposure.
So. But listen, Sausalito, I want to go back to make it right because I was furious. I was so mad that I could not find a parking spot in this little bitty town. And I was really frustrated with them. But would like to go back to that. House of Prime Rib, I've never heard of that. Good or
that sounds very good. Prime Rib.
But I do love Prime Rib.
Yes.
Big Sur is worth it. Big Sur was insane to me. Driving I really didn't know much about it. I knew that I stayed in Carmel one night because I love Clint Eastwood and I wanted to stay in the city where he was mayor, which makes sense to me.
Yeah, why wouldn't
so I went driving for a little bit that morning, and Carmel is pretty close to it, and you suddenly are like in Ireland. It was the wildest. Oh, it was insane, man. I mean, it is the craziest thing. Now, other part, go north to wine country. That is also what I did, because I'm not joking. When I was in San Francisco, everyone I talked to who lived in San Francisco told me all these same things. Just get out of here. Go to Big Sur. Go to Sonoma. Just get out of here.
Go to San Francisco and get out of there as quick as you can.
Just get out of there as quick as you can.
Fly back out of San Francisco airport. You're fine. Yeah.
You're fine. So anyway, I think we're going to have fun. We'll report back. Matt's going to be doing the show because we've got some early morning flights. So, Dan, what time will you be there?
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, just like 2:30 in the afternoon. Okay. San Francisco time.
We get in 10 a.m.
You get in at 10 a.m.
Yeah, 10 a.m. San Francisco time.
Oh my goodness.
So we're leaving early in the morning. But we'll see how it goes. We do want to go to Chinatown. My son and I are having a little bit of a spat right now because he says that Chinatown food is not good. That he's 12, and I don't expect 12-year-olds to have good taste.
But Troy, what I looked at a map yesterday, if I'm correct, help me here. Next to Chinatown is you have the Italian area.
Yes.
North, is that called North Beach or something? And
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that would be more, I don't know if Nolan likes the Italian, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, and Jan, shout out Jan. I don't. You might be right. The cliffs started sooner than I thought they were. Like I wasn't that far out of Carmel before it started getting cliffy, and so that's what I That's what I go. So anyway, it's going to be a great experience. We're going to have fun. It's a super short trip. Dan, I wish we had like 2 or 3 weeks out there.
I know. I just for Nolan and it's a cool place. Yeah.
Yeah. I am going to try to escape from Alcatraz and go to Angel Island like Frank Morris probably did instead of going straight to the city.
Now, do you put Troy? Let's ask you right here. Conspiracy theories. We're all like a good conspiracy theory.
Of course.
When they escaped from Alcatraz, did they, years later, one of them, it's the rumor one of them, for I don't know which one it was, survived. Do you believe one of them survived?
I think all 3 of them survived.
Wow, I like that. Wow.
I do. And I really do. I don't know how long they survived, but I think they survived that initial escape. My theory, I tried to do my research on this because Nolan asks me about every other day, is Frank Morris still alive?
Does he really?
Yes, he does. And so, shout out
Morris alive. I like
shout out autism.
Yeah,
good questions.
But
I think that he's probably in Florida. That's my guess. There's been rumors through the years of people seeing him in the Keys.
How stinking old would he be by now?
Oh, 90 something at this point.
Oh.
I mean,
and what an appropriate place. He's in the Keys.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. There couldn't be a better place for him to spend his last
I know
as a fugitive.
I know if I escaped somewhere, I would want to go to the Keys.
Yeah.
That would be my spot. So anyway, Dan, we better do some work this morning.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you something. So real quick, this is the test that Matt showed Monday. I don't know if you guys can see this. Rob is Frank Morris's bookie. I love that information.
Rob is Frank Morris's bookie.
And I would like to think Frank Morris has a bookie.
Yes.
I would. So, Matt, Dan, this is a 1-2. This is the old 1-2 that we looked at Monday.
Yeah.
It is 20 delta on the put side, 15 delta on the call side. We had a version of this in 2022 that was just Matt and Rusty and I all said to ourselves, this is the only trade we have to trade. We're going to be zillionaires, and we won't have to adjust anything. You put it on every Wednesday. You put it on 9:37. It is not Magic Minute. So you can have this test. Right now I'm going to share this test again. You can go play with the minutes. This is not a Magic Minute thing. You can do this first in the morning. You do it 9:40. That first 10-minute range, you can put it on anytime, maybe even 15-minute range, and it'd be fine. Matt did not try to just pick he tried to pick a random minute. That's why 9:37, more than trying to pick a specific minute. On this test, it's a 10% allocation portfolio, and we're using leg deltas. So the get out situations, the rails are you either take 90% profit, you exit the trade 3:55 p.m. the day of expiration, or you get out when the 20 delta put becomes a 65 delta put, so it goes a little bit over in the money, or the 15 delta call goes negative 65 delta. So again, a little bit in the money. So Dan, again, just initial thoughts about this type of short-term double calendar.
Yeah, I mean, I think of the word Nirvana. I know there's a rock group. There's a group Nirvana, isn't there?
I'm in it for your own sake. I'm going to go ahead and. I love the way you say things because I too get accused of saying things in a ridiculous way sometimes. You're going to want to call that Nirvana, Dan.
Nirvana. All right, Nirvana.
Yeah.
It's the Chicago ability to butcher words.
Nirvana. I love that.
That's why we
really
like in Chicago when Mayor Daley was the mayor. You know why everybody loved him? Because he talked like us or worse, right? He'd be in a press conference and they're like, "What did he just say?" Right? what did he just say? But anyways, I say Nirvana because, you know, when you're talking about 2022, it's like almost a Bruce Springsteen song, you know, like something, or Billy Joel, that was the year, or that was the because vols were up. And when you have a double calendar, higher vol means wider break evens. And you have this just a wonderful relationship between double calendars of all, you know, it could be, this is a 1 day, but 4 day, 7 day, whatever, you know, though that was a wonderful time when you have so much room. And you think about it, a 20 delta in the puts, 15 delta in the calls, you know, you have wonderful probabilities on that trade. You have the volatility that's staying up, so you're probably not going to get hammered in the middle, right? Because the vol is so kind to you. And and here it has a very good win rate. Yeah, it's just that was a great year for, but it doesn't, you know, again, on the other hand, you know, just trying to bring some hope here for people, you know, I mean, low vol double calendars can work fine, right? Low, you know, I mean, not as good as this, but they can work. They may need a little bit of tweaking sometimes. You know, you're worried about that middle area of the graph, but yeah, wonderful trade.
Well, so what I thought we'd do the rest of the time this morning is just graph this out, because if you're new to options, you know, it's hard enough sometimes to figure out Condor widths. So then you add DCs and you're like, okay, I don't understand. And this is something where your brokerage, you know, brokerages, to be honest, sometimes have trouble with these type of graphs, these short-term ones. The Greeks are kind of weird on this one. And so
yes.
I'm going to look at this, and we're going to share this graph here. So can you see this, Dan?
Yes.
Okay. So what this is, 14-15. Today is the 13th, so that makes sense. And this is Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, which is when you would put this trade on, because it only goes on Wednesdays. So what we're doing is, this is the short put, and just to make sure I'm doing this right, 20 delta, yep. So we're looking at the shortest, closest to 20, and then we're finding the 15 delta on the call side, which is right here. Okay. So I want you to look at this real quick. And right away, I think you can see maybe every test has its kryptonite, right? Every trade has its risk. There's no perfect trade. That's the definition of it. So what is the risk at it? Well, let's go through this real quick, time-wise. We're going to slide the time scale and see what this looks like through time, okay? So you put this on. This is basically, you know, Wednesday, right? That's basically, you know, again, this is all theoretical, but this is Wednesday.
Today, yeah.
So, so that first part, by end of day Wednesday, we're about right here, okay? You go the next day, and as you go into the next day, the day of expiration, what do you see happening right here? There's something in the middle terrible happening. What is that middle, Dan? Why is it going down like that?
It's the sea of death.
The sea of death, the pit of death, the pit of despair. As Springsteen would say, you go down to the river to die.
Yeah.
You know, that's
but again, wouldn't you say, Troy, I mean, sometimes I'm not saying the graph, you know, again, I think the first thing to say is these are theoretical graphs, 100%. Right?
Because they're theoretical Greeks.
These are theoretical Greeks. And I think that's another discussion one day, just the term theoretical theta, 100%. Right? Because you look at the theta and you go, I can get 10, 20% in about 6 hours. Probably not going to happen. But But the key here, when you look in, I like this example, Troy, because we talked about 2022, which couldn't be more polar opposite of this. This is, now you're looking at an example with the lowest volatility levels in the last year, basically, right? And for all essential purposes. But when you look at that, part of the key here is that does look bad, and that's the sea of death at expiration, right? At noon of expiration, it's different. The key here is, do you believe that the volatility of the long is pretty cheap right now, right? And will stay up. I mean, that's kind of, to me, where to focus a little bit. If the vol was higher, I might be more concerned. But I think, the key with this is you may have to be out of Dodge, right? At some point, maybe mid expiration date, possibly. But that's where that short long ratio comes in, right, yeah. Troy? That's the, the two great rails are an optional. I mean, two of many
the
good
Rushmore
rails,
of
but
rails.
One, the Rushmore of rails is okay. Price move, deltas of the short call and put. If it gets too far in the money, that's where life changes in a double calendar, right? Or the middle. And so the middle rail, would you say that's probably the best? Or do you have any other? What are as far as the best rails for that middle sag? Would it be the short long ratio?
Well,
or I know you have
short
some
long's
other...
hard though on a 1-2, because sometimes it's harder on that. I mean, this is sometimes with these short-term DCs, it kind of is what it is, as the way I kind of look at it. I mean, here's the one thing outside of option make it, like just in the trade itself, that you could benefit from. This is basically what you need to happen. So this is kind of just assuming vol stays at its level. But let's say vol, Trump says something, insane. You need vol to actually go up to make money in that tent. So that was me just raising the implied volatility a little bit of these options. And that's kind of like what you need. Otherwise, what you're really playing for with this type of trade is you're playing for a little bit of movement. And with 1-2s, that's kind of what you're putting them on for, is you're putting them on for movement. The way I always tell people is like a longer term DC with a wider width, you're playing for theta, right? You're collecting theta.
Yeah.
These type of DCs, you're more playing the delta a little bit. You kind of want it to approach that delta, I think.
Yeah. And what's sweet, Troy, is, there's always the good, the bad, and the ugly. Bringing up Clint Eastwood because you're going to Carmel. But, we can look at a reverse Iron Condor and say, you want more volatility. But just like this calendar, you look at the wings where it has to move, and that's a very, very modest move, right? I mean, you're talking the middle because of the low vol. Look you're at 64. What is that in the middle, Troy? 64.50?
Roughly,
where's
roughly, yeah.
64.50. To get in, it's like Evel Knievel going over the Grand Canyon. You got to get to 60 on the upside. 64.80 starts getting you in the good territory. On the downside, what is that, under 64.30? You don't need much room on the downside. I mean, I mean, that's very doable even in a low vol environment, right?
100%.
I mean, it's a doable on just a normal range
100%.
day. I mean,
and there's pluses and minuses to all of this, because you could say, well, to fix this, I'm going to go in super tight, right? And I'm going to keep this right here. I'm going to bring everything in. Okay. Well, that's great. Maybe you collect, but what are you doing in that? Well, maybe you're collecting a little bit more theta for no movement, but now, a 50-point move puts you in the negative in either direction, really. I mean, you could argue the call side, the vol is going to get crushed if we have that type of move, usually with that. So
that's right.
They're every trade has this. I mean, it's not like, oh, this isn't a good trade. This is a fine trade. So like Matt said, I mean, this running this back seems to work pretty well, but it's about knowing what your risk is and knowing why you do it. You know, that should help you build confidence with sizing and things like that.
Yeah. And also knowing that, like you just said, on the upside, see, to me, if you said vol getting crushed on the upside, I mean, on this trade today, if you said, are you concerned with vol getting crushed on the upside? No. I mean, when we start getting, obviously vol can go down. We all do, right? But when you're at 16, or where do we close yesterday, Troy? Like 14 something?
Yeah.
In the VIX. When we're at those levels, don't you agree? The rate of, we start going up. Those are the times when you start getting 14 and under. Those are days, you'll see days where the market's up and VIX will be up a little bit. Because it's people are looking at that, especially who want insurance and stuff, say, screw it. I mean, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. And so I think it's a lot slower. I'm not that concerned with that much vol going down on the upside. And that's the encouraging thing about this trade in a low vol is you don't need much movement, right? And here's the other thing. You're not, that graph, again, which scares the daylights out of people, that's expiration.
That's 100%.
That's not on today. That's not today, right? If, I mean, you've got some time there, and hopefully by the end of the day on a Wednesday, you're up pretty good money. So that gives you a little bit of courage, right? to say, all right, the graph was lying to me, which that's the thing. People, especially what I found, I mean, nothing against engineers. I love engineers, and most options traders, it seems, are some way linked with engineering. But they'll look at those stinking graphs. Because I'll always say, I said, you can throw a lot of this stuff out the window, right? When you get close to expiration. I mean, if you look at graphs for earnings trades, like look at it, I like these calendar trades where you're buying the expiration that's affected by earnings and then selling an expiration that will be before. And those work well because you're basically eliminating volatility risk. You still have price risk. But if you look at a graph on that and think or swim, you could get arrested for putting something like that on. And people look at that. Dan, the software knows. I said, no, the software doesn't know that the vol of the long is going to stay up because there's an event called earnings and the short is going down. So the graphs aren't real in that. And I think, like you said, when you get close to expiration, you could take those graphs with a grain of salt.
The problem with, and again, I do have some experience in this as someone who, as a software developer with this stuff.
A developer, you see,
the graphs, an options payoff graph. We're actually going to talk about this more in the next couple months for some different reasons. But an options payoff graph, it's not that it's lying, but it has two problems. It's theoretical, right? They're theoretical Greeks because it's based on a model. You have to plug a model in, a formula. So most of the time it's going to use Black-Scholes or some version of Black-Scholes. Most of your brokerages are having to do the same thing, right? And that's why sometimes you put your numbers, you put a put spread in, it says you've got 150 theta. Well, look at the end of the day. Did you make $150? And it didn't move. Did you make $150?
Right.
Did they lie? No, they're plugging in a formula of how to price options. But those are theoretical pricings. The problem with options are there are so many variables that all impact the other variables. And so Vega impacts price, time impacts price, delta impacts time. And all of these things are working together at the same time. And so it's almost, they're really good. They're really good at certain things that are simpler type setups. So like Condors, it is what it is at expiration, now, but with a DC or something like that, when you get multiple IVs involved, all bets are off. I mean,
yeah, right. All bets
are off because it's a very complex thing. And then to Dan's point, if you try to reverse that, where you're buying, say you're buying a short term something and selling a farther dated one, reversing the kind of normal order of things.
Reverse
I mean,
calendar type thing.
It's really difficult. So,
and just to throw, I mean, you don't see much of it in a retail environment, but reverse calendars were, I just have to get this in. I don't know. I haven't seen Tom lately, but in the pits, reverse calendars were popular. And they were popular because, like, in a portfolio margin type account, you have basically a trade like a Rick that can make money if the market moves either way, but benefits if volatility goes down. Now, so you're buying, you could do it in a double calendar format. You can do it in a single calendar mostly. And you're just like, let's just say you buy the at the money call near term and sell a little bit further out at the money call. And in a portfolio margin account, the margins are very, very low. I liked it a lot. Is like a go-to ratio back spreads and reverse calendars were go-to speculative strategies in a pit account. But to me, when I saw, like, through you guys with the reverse Iron Condors, if you do it at the money, I'll call it a McRib just because I like the McRib sandwich, the reverse Iron Butterfly, or if you're buying out of the reverse Iron Condors, those make so much more sense because they're much more margin friendly. You make a good bang for the buck. But in a portfolio margin account, those other trades are very attractive. But the compliance departments at brokerage firms, just like they're killing calendars these days at certain firms. But anyway, it's
in good origami man, great man. Most all versions assume IV will remain the same. That's correct. I mean, they have some. So options pricing models. It's like my. That's how I nerd out a lot. Is I look at option pricing models as a weird kind of fun thing. But the problem with theoretical pricing is that it assumes that IV is static through time. And that's just, I mean, anyone who's ever traded options knows that's fundamentally not true. And so that's the problem of pricing. Anyway, we'll get into that. That's a little fall project that we would love to talk about more. So stay tuned for that. Paul, that's right. We used options chart right there. Successful backtest. They all look ugly on the graph. Again, theoreticals versus actuals are sometimes very different. In the same way, before dailies, I remember trying to do shorter dated DCs, and I would never put them on because my brokerage was always like, well, you're going to be losing, like, you're negative like 400 theta. You're all the Greeks are just messed up on it because the shorter dated nature of it just doesn't. It's harder mathematically to figure it out. So anyway, we'll talk more about that.
Hey, Troy, real quick, I would encourage people, just even if you're just curious, take the test that Troy came up with today from Matt, and even, I know, just paper trade it. Just, if you're whatever brokerage firm you're on, paper trade it, and look at and maybe write down the implied volatilities of the 4 strikes, and just see where it is at the end of the day. And I think you'll be mildly surprised that it didn't act like the graph. Now watch it do it today. But you should be, you'll see that it is different, right? And I think that's the only way to, instead of looking at the graph and saying, I trust the graph, I would never try this, paper trade it. If I was home today, or if I am home today, but if I could watch it through tomorrow, which will be, when you get older, you don't know where you are. But I would do this. I would do this trade in a second because especially with the vol being weird, I think it's fine, but I think that's the way to see that mixed months trades. They're not as clear to see, 100%. Right? They're a little, I'm not going to say harder, but a little more complicated than just a same month spread. It seemed more logical.
I agree. Well, listen, guys, I hope you guys have a good rest of your trading week. I've got to go pack some wetsuits and some snorkels. So
What's
Uh,
Captain Nemo? Can they picture? And Troy, you know what? Where Nolan would get ready for the trip, Captain Nemo, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh,
I
yeah.
watched that the other day. The wetsuits and stuff they use, because that's before CGI and stuff. It was priceless. Absolutely priceless.
Listen, I mean, there's talk about kryptonite. There's nothing worse than a wetsuit on for a fat guy. That's like our kryptonite.
Oh.
So anyway,
you can't get it off. It's tough to get. It's tough to get out of.
I know. All right, guys. Well, listen. Have a great trading week.